Sorry about that, I don't know what happened. So this was the Derwent watercolour pencils, but I did actually use them from a paper palette, and this is my little 21st century watercolour travel book, and I have my 72 watercolour pencils scratched in squares, labelled, and there's a little colour swatch, so I know this particular square is going to give me all those colours. So although there's 72 pencil squares, there's 720 shades, because each pencil shade will give me 10 colours. And a strange thing happens with ink tens is you're not supposed to re-wet them, but if I go here where it's already been wet and it's dried, I will get some very faint colour, and if I want stronger colour I'll just go next to it where I haven't been before, and then I'm going to get a vibrant colour. And that's with all of them, but with the ink tens, the reason you can re-wet them, so that's why if you do a page like this and think, well, that's ink tens, it's dried, I can just wash over the top and it's not going to move. It can move, because you have to activate every little tiny speck of colour for it to set. So if it's a small amount and you've really activated that space and that colour, it'll be set. But don't ever think that you can't do this with water, because a little tiny speck of this colour, if it's not been activated, will ruin your page. So although they are supposed to be set, and they do set, but you have to make sure that you've got the right amount of water with the colour. So using them in a colour book where we don't use a lot of water, you can reactivate a small amount, enough to ruin a page. So if you're using them on silk, and if you're doing it on all sorts of porcelain, all sorts of things, these ink tints, they're an ink, but they will move slightly. Jane says, did I mean to change my channel name? Yes, I did. Sorry, on YouTube. Yes, I have, but I haven't moved everything across yet. Sorry. Yeah, I'm moving my channel across, but I haven't done it yet. I'd forgotten about that. Thanks for reminding me, Jane. I'm rearranging because I've brought out some sketches for people to colour that will be available on a website. I've had to kind of rearrange everything, so everything should be in the same bunny's designs, because it gets rather confusing when I've got different names. So that's why I've done it. So I'll put out a video of that when it all gets together, but it's only in the pipeline at the moment. So back to our little book. So that was done with watercolours. And apologies, I've got short-term memory loss. I don't have a clue how I did this, but there is a book. So we've got an Escher, and sometimes I look at it and I don't have a clue, and sometimes I look and I think, oh, I have a little bit of an idea of what to do. So this one, I think I've decided that I'm going to trace these 3 towers, and then I'm going to rearrange them in the background. So we've got 5 towers. Sorry, we've got 7 towers. I haven't decided with this one. I love it, but I haven't decided. It's Little Worlds with Books. I think maybe watercolours, soft pale colours. I think maybe with this one. This was started with ink tens, and there is a video in the video playlist under Colin Thompson colour book, Derwent ink tens pencils. Again, there is a video with this one, but I can't remember what I used, so apologies. I had a quick look at this one, and instead of being kind of greys and boring bone colours, I thought I'd do them in kind of really grungy colours. So I thought about using my my Neocolor 2s, but grunge them up a bit. So use a complementary colour to kind of just a red over green will just dull the green, and a very gentle wash of green over red will dull the red. Now if you kind of mix them together, you will get a grey shade, and so you don't want to do that, but there is a video on how I did this one, and I think that would look quite nice. So sometimes I have an idea, and sometimes I look back at other colour books. If you can't get any ideas what you want, look at your old colour books that you've coloured in. Sometimes that does it as well. Oh, thanks, Jenna. I'll have a look. I can't remember. I really can't remember. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I think the memory's going as well as the body. So that's not going to be good. But I'll have a look. This one I had a look at a couple of minutes ago, and the video failed, and I cannot honestly tell you what I was going to do. That's a bit scary because that was only about 10 minutes ago. Gouache. So I'm going to do it in gouache. This is how scary my mind is, so apologies. This is Derwent pastel pencils, and I want to finish this, but just at the moment I can't use pencils, so it's on hold, and because it's not been set with a light damp brush, a rigger damp brush, just a very tiny damp brush will set pastels into they'll set pastels into kind of a fake watercolor. So you know, you can use them as you can a watercolor with the pigments. The binder's slightly different, but when it's set you can reactivate it. So technically it isn't a watercolor, but it acts like a watercolor when you manipulate it with water. So you don't have to use any nasty chemicals to set your pastels. You just a very, very damp brush, bearing in mind we're on paper. So that needs to be finished, and I think that would look quite nice, but as I said, just at the moment, very frustrating, but that's on hold. I had a look at this gorgeous pages with the butterflies and the leaves, and I think I might just actually open the book and think, well, these are green, and I'll look at my favourite greens. I have some in the Peerless, but my favourite greens are the Gansai Tambi watercolours, and I made little fat puddles on sketchbook paper. Sea White extra wet strength sketchbook paper is used for all these water-based mediums. Oh, thank you, Jane, thank you. So there are some wonderful colours, and in the 36 set we have the metallics, and I have to say the best metallic you can buy is the Gansai Tambi watercolour, and I've used it in my Bible pages on lettering, and it's fantastic. It's better than any other product. The unfortunate thing is, unless you can buy it separate, it only comes in the set of 36, but they're not overly expensive, the Gansai, but all my little fat puddles. And I'm quite pleased to say that I did this when they first came out a few years ago, and they've actually brought out their own little puddles, so I was quite impressed that I could inspire Kuretake to do something that's kind of portable. So instead of that wonderful, and they are wonderful but I never use them, the Gansai come in a very large thin layer of a plastic pan that watercolors come in, and they're quite big, and they have a shallow layer underneath, but they're in this gorgeous A4 size box that if you drop it, the little pans scoot everywhere, and I've dropped it twice, so that's why I did this, so that when I was away I didn't have to make a noise. But the golds, and the silver as well, but mainly the gold one is the best one ever, and you know, it really is a gorgeous shiny gold. for lettering. So I think I'd use this one as look at colours and pick them, and it doesn't matter what medium it is, whether it's a watercolour, whether it's peerless, because I love some purples in the peerless, but then the Derwent watercolours, I love geranium pink, geranium lake rather. In the Inktense pencils, there's some gorgeous purples. The thistle and the fuchsia are really vibrant. There also is a carmine, a Shiraz, and there's a carmine as well, which I really love. And the Derwent, the Neocolor 2s, there's some nice fleshy colours, there's some gorgeous greys, and there's a couple of really nice crimsons. So, and there's some carmine, I love carmine, and there's some pretty good greens as well, and turquoise colours. So there's some really unusual colours in all of these water-based mediums, and that's why I've got them all in here. The Hydrus are in here as well, and the professional Winsor & Newton, there's a little bit of a mixture, and these stay tacky. So this is Derwent Cotman, sorry, not Derwent, Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolours, and they're almost perfectly dried. And these are the Winsor & Newton professional watercolours, and they stay tacky. So I've had to build this little ridge, but it's okay, it works quite well. It's got its own little palette, and then I can use the plastic as a palette. And there's still gorgeous tons of colour there, so you know that's going to do a few pages. Yes, Gansai Tambi watercolour, but it's Kuretake, isn't it? Sorry, my mouth isn't connected to the brain. So Kuretake is the company name. Gansai Tambi watercolours are these little pans. Now I think they brought out their own little pans, as they say. I copied my idea, which is really good, but I just kept dropping them. And there is a video that I made, I think, doing that particular thing, because when I just really rabbit trail, when I did the Gansai, I wet the little fat pan with a brush, quite a big brush, and then I twisted the colour out onto here, and then I did that 3 times, so I've got kind of 3 fat puddles next to each other, and then labelled them and left them to dry. But I ended up with a brush full of a colour, and I didn't wash the brush out. I kept dipping just the tip into water, and I coloured some colour pages that I didn't like. And then when it got dry, I did it again, and I did it again, and I got 20 colour pages from just the brushes that I would have washed away when I changed colour. So every time you wash your brush out, you are washing your colour down the drain, which is why I invented watercolouring, which is you have a damp rigger and a small amount of colour at the end, and that gives you a strong colour which you can take to nothing, which is a watercolour effect on a piece of paper, and your brush ends up clean. So every scrap of pigment you get on your brush goes on your page. And as a tight Yorkshire lass, I like that. This is some water that I've been using quite a long time. There is water in there, but it's clear. So you'll notice that quite a lot on my colour books. Every scrap of colour goes in the book and not down the drain. Because every time you wash your brush out, you could put it on a sketchbook that you want some backgrounds, Jenny Bell is very good for that, for scribbling around her desk. She has paper and she makes the most fantastic backgrounds. She just kind of wets the brush and scribbles it and keeps wetting the brush until there's no colour left at all, and she ends up with these fantastic backgrounds made of all different colours and all different water-based mediums and acrylic. Is it not just to cutting? Yeah, it's only because I've got a water brush that I've had for years, and that's got the same name on it. But thanks, Jane. So that's so this one I put grunge. I'm not going to mess about today too much because I'm going to do lots of short videos because Ustream is playing up a bit, or it's BT, and I'm not going to say which one I think it is. I thought vibrant hydrous for this, and again I looked back at my old colour books, pages I'd done, so that they would inspire me for other things. And I've just seen the hydrous. So sometimes you can look at a page and think, oh yes, that's hydrous. Although I did do that one in the hospital, but so that was it's quite a nice therapeutic way to work. This is hydrous, and I think there's another one in here as well. This is hydrous. So they're really, really vibrant. Dr. Martin's hydrous watercolours, and they're in little tiny bottles about the size of nail varnish. You can get the 1 ounce, which is a glass, and you can get a smaller one about this size, and that is plastic, and it's a half ounce US. So again, I think these vibrant colours and vibrant reds and oranges for this big yellow truck. So sometimes it's quite good to look at old pages or pages you've already coloured. So this video was requested. There are quite a few other ones, and I did one a long time ago. Again, I've coloured this in. I can't remember how I did it, but there is a video. So if you look under the Colin Thompson, under the playlist, you'll have all the different pages I've coloured, and there is another book flip, more detailed. This one is Don't Watercolour Pencil, because I watched the video to remind me. Again, this could be finished. Again, I can't remember if I used the pencil or if I used my little book. Haven't any idea for these two. This one will have to be a dry medium, so probably pastels would look gorgeous on there, but I can't use those at the moment. This one hasn't grabbed me at all. This one probably gouache, because I did another one in gouache. This one's kind of itty bitty things, so this is going to be probably from my little book. This is Derwent watercolour. There is a book for this. This is Inktense pencils, so these are a little bit more vibrant colours, but you can still get some really nice subtle shades, watercolour effects, even though it's the Derwent really strong colours. Some pages jump out, some people don't. This is one of my favourites, but because I used to spend lots of time on stairs. I was obsessed by stairs at grandma's and great aunt's houses. I always played on steps. I have no idea why, but I just love that page. But I think I'm going to do it in pastel, because it's got a big space, and remember, big spaces and water don't always mix. You've got to be a little bit crafty, but you can do it. This one's in pastel, and again I've got some really nice soft shades, but it's not finished because I want to, when it's finished, do like I did on the Harry Potter one, highlight certain things and darken others to make it more of a composition. And once you've wet it, you can't really play about with it. So that again is just pastel pencil Derwent, not set. This one could be gouache, I think, maybe. This one was gouache, really fun, but the video I don't think recorded, so but I loved this one. It was fairly quick, I think it only took an hour. Gouache was wonderful for this, and that's what made me think it would be good for big spaces. There's no bubble, there's no buckle, there's no crinkle, although this is really thick paper. Again, nothing really grabs me for that. Perhaps probably maybe professional watercolours really get that nice effect out. Can't even remember seeing this ever before, but wonderful page. Nothing actually stands out, so possibly somewhere in my watercolour pages, and just pick certain things out like I normally do. I've written the Derwent pastel pencils, but I've blended it with a brush, not with water, so a damp brush. So there's two ways of working. This way is you scribble the colours, different shades, and you blend them together with a blending tool, and there is a video on that. The Harry Potter one's the best. Hagrid's The Harry Potter book, that's the better one. Amy, this one, darling. A cup of sweet tea, darling, thank you. Strong milky and sweet, thank you. And the other way of doing it is you scratch the colour with the pastel, and then you use just a damp rigger to set it and manoeuvre it about, and that's what this is. And there is a video on this. So this is blending and setting at the same time. It's a lot quicker. This one I think is watercolour pencils. There is a video on this one, and I've put stickles on the Christmas tree, so we've got some shine on the Christmas tree. I don't use stickles very often. I did on the Joanna Christmas book. I think this one is Derwent art bars, and the problem with the Derwent art bars is they're not available anymore. So I can't make videos about things that aren't available, because it's not fair, and it's very frustrating. So it's everybody wants them and we can't get hold of them. They don't make them anymore. So I'll finish this book on my own, but I won't be making another video. But they're very similar to the Derwent art bar, the Caran d'Ache Colour 2s, but the Derwent art bars were brought out for professional artists, so the pigments are amazing. Again, these are, if I do them in traditional colours, then it's probably going to be watercolour, I think. Although Neos would be good to scratch colour, because with a Neo crayon you scratch colour at the edge and manipulate it with a damp brush. That's another way of working. So there's lots of different techniques with water-based products. So either look up the name of the product, so that would be professional watercolours, Cotman watercolours, that would be Kuretake Gansai Tami watercolours, Hydrus, Peerless, Derwent Inktense, Derwent watercolour, and Derwent Graphitint, and the Neocolor 2s. And whatever good quality water-based products you have, either pencil or crayon, works really well with this technique. Scratch a bit of colour and manipulate it. So either look up a certain book under the playlist. There's 450 some, nearly 500 colour videos I've made over the last year and a bit, so there's a lot to choose from. The last page, I have no idea what I want to do with this one. I love it, but I do not have a clue. You could get this in a jigsaw, which I think would be amazing. So there's two different, the book pages are jigsaws, and as I say, I think it's this first one is a laminated sticky, like sticky back plastic, laptop cover, if it's still available. It was a long time ago. And the other thing I do with my books is when I've actually started to write things in them. Look, that's a good idea. I'd forgotten I did that. Thank you. Just dump it there. Be fine, darling. Thank you. I've put a little label. So I put a label if I'm working on a page. So these are the ones that are not finished. And I've actually started writing out what I'm using so I don't forget. And then on this side here, I'm actually putting labels. I move the label to the side. So this is ones that need finishing, and these are finished. And as you see, that's rather naughty. There's only 2. So I hope you enjoyed my Colin Thompson Fantastical Worlds colour book, book flip and colour thoughts. Thank you for watching.